That one done. Okay, now the microphone's working. Honestly, I had to unplug that one. No? I had to unplug my webcam so that I could use it for work. There we go. I had to unplug my webcam so I could use it for work purposes. I plugged it back in. My other computer has decided it's going to lose all of my settings. I was saying hello to everybody, but you didn't hear me. Aha! There we go. That is one heck of a clock. That is a heckin' clock, that is. I was making jokes and everything. There was bants. You didn't hear any of it. I'm not going to repeat it. Aha! That feels better. Yeah, there we go. Are we clear? Yes! Okay. Boy, all of that to save like 5 minutes doing a blend. I'll give my wet palette paper some time to get acclimated anyway. Now, I usually leave my airbrush like in the ultrasonic cleaner for days at a time. They're chrome plated for a reason, so that they don't rust. Well, the good ones anyway. There are plenty of cheap airbrushes out there where the chrome plating is not very good and you can develop rust if you leave it in water for too long. But get yourself some isopropyl. Litre of this costs about a tenner in the UK with shipping. It's mostly clean. Yeah, we're mostly good in there. So, I mean, seriously, like cleaning a clog in a hardened Steinbeck is so easy compared to the cheap Iwatas or the eBay airbrushes that you can get for a tenner. It's worth the price of entry alone. That plus you get just a better airbrush. Okay. I did something to my left shoulder. Every time I stretch my arm out, I get a tingle in my index finger. I've had it before. It's a nerve running down your shoulder blade, but it's not that bad. It's not so bad. It's stopping me from painting. I have given videos up, but I haven't given streaming up. I'm enjoying this. It's helping me unplug from work. There we go. That's nice. There's the needle protector. Yeah. I was in a I was in like a bad way. Today is my first day back at work after a holiday. Get my tube. And I had to take a week off because I was just getting like overly stressed at work. And everyone was like, you have to take some time off. And it helped me reset my brain. And now I'm like, you know what's actually important? Painting miniatures. So now, after work, my ritual is going to be go for a half-hour walk so I get some exercise. But also because I'm working from home, to delineate being at work versus being at home. So then I come back from a half-hour walk, have my dinner, watch a little bit of telly, and then do some painting. And I figure I might as well stream some of it. It's not really a tutorial, it's more just kind of hang out. I've got some jazz in the background if you can hear it. Some nice royalty-free jazz. Where's my bottle of thinner? It's behind the third monitor. Yes, one of the benefits of my new job is that now I have 3 monitors on my desk, 2 computers. Okay, I'm just going to airbrush a bit thick. I'm just going to airbrush some Dark Reaper onto the end of this guy's chainsaw because I had to repaint it because I put it here originally. It should actually be down here. So yeah, I'm just trying to stay in a decent mental state with regards to my work, and painting's helping me with that. But making videos would not. Making videos is stressful. You got to complete a thing, sit down, finish it, plan out the video, paint the model. Tissue. Edit the video, which takes almost as long as painting the model. See it. Bit too thin at the moment. Okay. Oh, there's no wait. Hang on. Losing pressure. Yep, Sean Blake. That's better. Wait, why am I doing this? I can take his arm off. Make it a lot easier. On the opposite side. And in the middle on the back side. Now I need to do kind of a standard grey. I'm almost out of thinner here. That's all I'm really looking for. Boy, the camera doesn't want to focus on things when the wet palette's in the background, does it? That's all I needed. Hello. Because this one's being held in the opposite orientation. So this one pointing up. This one, when it's in pose, is pointing down. So try and get the... I had to invert the direction of the highlight. That's better. Yeah. Yeah, I had to invert the direction of the highlight on that because I'd done it. I originally did them all with their arms off and I didn't consider the pose. So I just did them all the same way. It turned out that one was very wrong. Fortunately, repainting stuff black is very easy. You just slap on a coat of black Templar and away you go. Right then. Dark Reaper first highlight. I'm just going to quickly edge highlight the remaining 2 chainswords I have to do. And then I'll go around and do all the bolt pistols as well. As it's all the same colours. Yeah, that paintbrush tasted horrible. Don't eat the paint, but do lick your paintbrushes. That's my advice. Always a danger to paint immediately over your wet palette. Fortunately, the edge highlights on the old chainswords can be quite rough because the edges are supposed to look all battered up because it's a melee weapon. Yeah, it's a hitting stick, so it's not supposed to look nice and neat. Especially not on this first. Edge highlight is basically just establishing shape. I have nails. I used to bite them. I used to bite my nails. I've tried to get out of that habit. So now actually I let them go. I have a whole tendency now to let them grow too long. And then I'm like, wait a minute. The nail of my middle finger is poking my paintbrush. I really need to cut these. But yeah, it's a sign that I do an inside job for a living, I guess. I've also got surprisingly small hands for my frame. Like, I'm 6 foot tall, but I have got much smaller hands than I should have. Not freakishly tiny, but definitely smaller than you'd expect. This one's coming off, so I can do this side. Now, a few days ago I wrote an army list for these guys. Just 500 points, combat patrol, to see what I needed to do to get to that stage. And I was like, oh sweet, I basically got 500 points if I paint 5 assault intercessors. And I realised the other day that actually I need 1 regular intercessor with an auto bolt rifle. Because my Golden Demon entry of Raptors Marines actually only had 4 regular intercessors and 1 lieutenant in it. Rather than what I thought I had, which was a 5-man squad plus a lieutenant, but no, it turns out I only actually had the 1. So if anyone's got a spare Marine Intercessor with auto bolt rifle knocking about that they just want rid of, give me a box. I don't want to buy a whole box of 10 just so that I can make 1 extra model to fill out the squad. How do they do in the Demon anyway? They got a fine list pin. Had it been in any other year, I might have done a bit better. But it was a very strong year, the last year that they ran Golden Demon in this country, because they didn't run it because COVID this year. I think, honestly, the only thing that got them the finalist pin was that the faces were quite good. The bases weren't all that much, really. There was no story really tying anyone together, which does actually count for a surprisingly large amount. Like, if you've got a story or a theme, other than just being, you know, part of the same squad in the same army, then you'll capture the judge's imagination. Which is why Andy Wardle usually does really well, because he's very good at that kind of stuff. I think if you went through all of the consistent Golden Demon winners, like the people that place every year, year after year, then you'll find that the one thing they've got in common is usually good composition, and their entries have good stories going on. Mine are just, like, at best technically competent. I'm not great at composition. I'm not great at putting them together into stories, because I always want to play with my miniatures. Like, I'm not into making dioramas or anything just to put on the shelf and look at it. Every miniature I've ever entered into Golden Demon has always been a workhorse miniature that does time on the tabletop, or at least is intended to do time on the tabletop. So for me, they have to meet that criteria as well. And that changes how you do stuff, compared to people that only want to do stuff for the shelf. I don't want bolt rifles though, I want auto bolt rifles. You know, the good gun. The one Intercessor gun that's good. Okay, let's get started on the real highlight that you can actually see. The other one's just like to make sure I don't have any gaps when I do this one in my tappy tap style. I don't know if you can see that I've done like one edge. This is forming the basis of my damaged edge for my chainsword. And of course the back edge is damaged as well because they use that to block attacks and parries. Because if you tried to block an attack with that side of a chainsword, I have no idea what happened, but I don't think it'd be anything good. Wait, this is this one, which means the actual highlight edge will be this side of the bolt. This is the one that's opposite land. Not as much damage near the hilt, but quite a lot down here, and in more random directions than along the teeth. If anybody just wants to hang out regularly, there is a Discord. I think the link is in the description. A bunch of us hang out in there and just talk shit about painting all the time. The tapping technique for this works really well because these are actually quite hard angles to get a good edge highlight on, I found on these chainswords. But the tapping technique makes it look like they've been damaged more. It's a technique I usually use on my orcs for pretty much everything. Because everything on an orc is damaged, nothing is new. Yeah, some of the mold lines on them are bad, but I just went, screw it, I'll do the ones at the front that you can see. And I just kind of left the ones at the back. Don't tell anyone. I did not hear that Laius is moving to Legends, but it does make sense because there is no model for him. And Forge World have never made a model for him. They did have one like in the works a while ago, but they also had they've had a model for all of their characters in the works and they never released. As I understand it, they couldn't get the mold to work for him. But I don't really rate Laius that much anyway. He's like, you've got to build your army around him. And I'd rather not. To me, it's actually kind of liberating. Because in the past I always went, but I want to use Laius Iston. You can still use any model that you built for him and just use him as like a Phobos captain. Because the rules would fit. this side's not as visible, so I don't really care if it's any good. So yeah, all of my lists, whenever when trying to fit Lias in, was always just like, well, here's 10 Stern Guard, an Apothecary, and a Lieutenant. All regular Firstborn Marines. And their job is to pop up with Lias and kill something and then get shot off the board. It's like, like there's just a whole Vanguard detachment with just Lias and a bunch of elites. And it's like, I'd rather have flexibility. For example, I wanted, like, part of the Raptors lore, not many people seem to pick up on this, but the Raptors freaking love land speeders. I don't remember which book it was in now, but I have all the books, the Forge World Imperial Armor books with the Raptors in, because I loved them that much. Yeah, they've got a strong affinity for using land speeders in combat. Everyone just focuses on them being good shots, unlike Cicedon. No one ever tries to make an entirely land speeder force. But now, with the Primaris Marines, every vehicle is like a hover vehicle. The Raptors are like, yes, thanks. More land speeders, thanks. I'll probably paint some stripes on these chainswords after I'm done. Yeah, the Primaris Speeder, pixelated though that picture is, I'm hopeful. I think it's going to look good. I think it's going to look really good. And I like the Repulsor Executioner and the Impulsor. It took me a while to get around to liking them. I don't like the Repulsor because I think they just kind of glued too many guns to it. Take the frag launchers off, put Stormbolters on. Maybe stick a few sandbags on the top, because sensible Marines. And I think you get a bit further there, but the Executioner looks like a main battle tank, which I like. Man, nothing terrified somebody more in 6th edition than the sight of a full squadron of 3 land speeders, all equipped with double multi-melters. I have never seen anyone reprioritise their targets so fast after having those guys go 18 inches and then blow up a Lance Raider in one turn. That was my old Raven Guard army. That scared the pants off people. Like, here's my army, it's over here. Whoops, here's 3 land speeders within multi-melter range. Oh, and your rear armour as well. It's just like, boom, turn 1. You shouldn't have moved your Land Raider forward, mate. It's like, but my Deathwing was in it. Nope, not anymore, they're not. They're walking now. And I'm going to keep everything out of charge range. Good luck. Best they're going to do is throw some Stormbolters at people. And that's just that one guy with the Cyclone missile launchers going, I've got a gun. Everybody else in the squad going, I'll throw my hammer at them. Always fun to leave, like, Belial just sitting out in the open, just going, well, you fell for my bait. How do you feel that Belial is now sitting in the middle of the open with no one to support him? Oh, whoops. My local Deathwing players were not very good. They were just like, Deathwing Assault, turn 1! It's like, okay. Congratulations, you just put all of your Terminators in the line of fire of my Demolisher cannons. If it was my Imperial Guard army. It's like, excellent, I don't have to drive closer to you now to hit you with my Demolisher cannon. Good times. That was back when I played a lot of 40k. It was 6th and 7th edition. I haven't really played... Didn't play 8th, like, at all. Mostly just did painting. But that was because 8th happened during the primary period of my YouTube channel being active, and that prevented me from getting any time to play games. One of the reasons why I quit. I do kind of miss armor facing. I also miss the guns actually needing line of sight. It made vehicle manoeuvring a lot more tactical. Don't really care about that stuff for infantry. Like, yeah, by rights, infantry don't matter. They're very manoeuvrable. They can move around. But I think it was the thing that vehicles needed, especially to balance out things like Bane blades. Where it's like, no, they can't shoot through their own hull. Whereas now it's like every vehicle is doing a 360 spin as they move across the tabletop so that they can fire all their guns at the same target. I also liked removing models from the front, but that's only because I played Imperial Guard and that was the only way I could not get charged. As an Orc player, it pissed me off no end. The thing is, the reason they ditched 7th edition was because it was getting too complicated, and then they went, 8th edition, it's dead simple. And it's like, 2 years into 8th edition, the rulebook's doubled in size, and whoops, here's 9th edition, and there's a whole chapter on terrain rules again. Well, how did that work out for you, Games Workshop? Fortunately, they put the complexity back in where it was actually needed. There was a lot of complexity for complexity's sake in 6th and 7th edition. I actually think the Psychic phase in 6th edition, which didn't have a Psychic phase, I think the Psychic rules were actually better and more streamlined and made more sense. But they just ended up with just loads of Psychic powers which were at the start of the movement phase. And then all FAQs were clarifying what order those could occur in. Like, when 6th edition happened, and like right at the start of it, before actually all the 6th edition books came out, and all of the detachments happened, the very start of 6th edition was really, really simple, really streamlined. It's just rules bloat, it happens to everything, but 6th edition lasted longer than pretty much any other edition, I think. So it kind of got the worst of it, and they just started putting in lots of ideas that were just bad ideas. Like the detachments that pulled over from Apocalypse. That was just a bad idea. I think I started with 3rd edition. No, I started with 2nd edition, then I went to 3rd edition. Hang on, let's see if I can find it. Boom. Out of the way, shoes. Does anybody want any flyers for my Waves 2 game? I've got 300 left in this box. That's it. Yes. I believe that is 3rd edition. It's in good nick, this. Look at these old cover saving throughs. It's like rules straight away. This whole book is rules. There's no law. There's like no law in here, really. It's just rules. But I think it was 3rd edition was a big change because that was when they brought in the 6-inch move as standard for everything, and so they had to put the second half of this book as all army lists with points values because they had to invalidate every single codex at once and replace them all. Ooh, miniatures. Aw, old orcs. Old Dark Eldar. Yeah, they invalidated every codex at once. I think this was the last time they actually just straight up just invalidated every codex at the same time. People were not happy about it, but there were people. When are people ever happy about a decision Games Workshop makes? Yeah, that was. I didn't play as much of this in the end. I actually got heavily into Blood Bowl when this came out and started playing that instead. What's this? The Taos campaign. Off we got. Bane Blades. Hang on. Tau. Who is this, guys? Who are these? I don't recognise these. Avenging Sons. Where are they now? Where are the Avenging Sons? No one gave a shit about them. The Raptors Tactical Squad Space Marine. If you want to know why I like the Raptors, it's all in this book. This one and is it Assault on... I can't remember. It was basically it was Orcs versus the Raptor Space Marines. There's a chapter organisation in here. This one's got the rules for Tawin. But I actually found out about the Raptors accidentally because my first love were the Elysian Drop Troopers. Loved those models. I also just love the idea of just dropping everything out of the Valkyrie and being pure airborne. So I bought all of the books that had Elysian Drop Troopers in it, but funnily enough, those also all had the Raptors in. I don't know, there's just something about I think it's just because it looks more military, so it diminishes the over-the-top gothicness of Space Marines, which is something that doesn't sit particularly well with me. If I want over-the-top gothicness, I will happily collect... Look at that. Properly camouflaging your Thunderhawk there. I will happily collect this as a battle and create an entire Minstorm army that is completely batshit insane. But for some reason I want my Space Marines to be tactical. I've also got a weird love for Whirlwinds as well. Which I am sad that eventually those will disappear from the game, but it might take another 5 years before that happens. This is all tower rules now. Remote sensor towers, Orca dropships. Manta Super Heavy Dropship, the heaviest thing Forge World made until they made a Warlord Titan, might actually still be the heaviest thing that Forge World make. The Manta is just so heavy. It's the biggest chunk of resin. It's like 4 foot across or something ridiculous. I think I might have sold the other one of these books. I think I sold the other ones before they got invalidated. Yeah, I can't see it in there. this is going to be hard to get back in. Anyway, little trip down memory lane. Castor Novum might have been the thing. I think it was like Imperial Armour 8. Book 8 or something. But the stories of how the Raptors would ambush the orcs and stuff, it just pleased me. Like, here's Space Marines that are more interested in tactics than they are about running straight at the enemy in brightly coloured armour. Oh, that's a shame. Okay, next highlight is... what is it? Fenrisian Grey is next highlight. Less of this highlight than previous highlight. Wait, which arm is this? It's that one, okay. Yeah, I remember seeing a picture of a guy carrying a manta, and it was so massive. And then the next picture was of him having dropped it, and it shattered into a million pieces. This black recipe I'm using on these is basically the same as my Deathwatch armour recipe. The only difference is that I did the first shade in Mechanicum Standard Grey rather than black plus Cantor Blue. This colour, I'm basically just catching the edges of all of the little nicks and the corners, and just tapping in a few extra bits of damage along the length of the blade. It's quite subtle. I just went through a period of just like every army I collected was some kind of Forge World army. If not in models, then in rules. Because I was a hipster and wanted to have all of the armies that no one else in my store had all knew the rules for. I was not only a hipster, I was also very, very competitive, which isn't the case anymore. I have mellowed in my old age. So let's talk war stories. What was one of my favourite moments in Warhammer 40k game? I think it was probably a game where I was playing at the local store, and it was my Imperial Guard versus my friend Space Wolf Army, but his Space Wolf Army was all wolves. He was taking it to a tournament, so it was all Fenrisian wolves, like, and nothing else apart from enough characters to make it legal, because you could take Fenrisian wolves as troops with a certain character in your game. I think this would have been 6th edition, and he had like been winning games all over the store. Like no one was beating him with this army, and then I rocked up with my Imperial Guard gunline, And, his whole plan was like, the point of the wolves was to bog everything down, not actually get kills. But he charged into my gun line, and only one unit of wolves made it through the Overwatch from my blobbed up Imperial Guard units. Because, that was back when you could blob Imperial Guard into 30 plus men in a squad and basically do the Orc thing, but better. And that plus Overwatch was absolutely killer in that edition. And he got into a squad, and I had like 8 guardsmen left in that squad. And he had, I think it was an even number of Fenrisian wolves. The maths said that he should have wiped those guys down to like 1 man, because his wolves got to strike first as well, because they were higher initiative. And he rolled all his dice and fluffed pretty much all of his attacks, or I saved all of them ridiculously, because the wolves didn't have any armor piercing, because they're just wolves. They don't have, real weapons. So even my Imperial Guard flak armor saves of 5 up were actually doing work. And then it came time for my guys to attack back. I had 8 guys, 8 attacks, plus a sergeant, so it would have been 9. And just I killed all of his wolves down to just 1, and then it fled. Like in melee with guardsmen. Just regular guardsmen, not veterans, nothing. And I was just like, that's never gonna happen again. I am never gonna have guardsmen do that well in close combat ever again in my whole life. Because Fenrisian wolves, like, aside from not having a very good save, were basically stat-wise the same as a Space Marine. But they were dirt cheap, which is why he was doing the whole thing. But that was just that was an amazing moment. And I then proceeded to just shoot the rest of the wolves off the board, because the thing that he hadn't come across before was someone that just had enough guns to actually kill that many wolves. Because everybody else had been like elite armies with just a few models, and here was me with my Imperial Guard army with just tons of infantry. And I hadn't tailored or anything. I'd gone into store just for a pickup game. I still had like 2 tanks and stuff, but I was just like, nope. You know what? Las guns, when you do first rank fire, second rank fire, they hurt. I always loved it when the kids in the store would go, but Imperial Guard are rubbish. Space Marines would be able to beat them up. And I'm like, yeah, but for every 1 Space Marine, you get 3 Guardsmen. Sometimes more, with penal comp lists. It's just like, sure, you've got Space Marines. Yeah, 1-on-1, Space Marine's going to beat a Guardsman, but you don't fight 1-on-1 in Warhammer. Especially not when you're Imperial Guard. You get all of your guys, you first rank fire, second rank fire, and you can take out a squad of tactical marines with just las guns. It's great. Loved it. All the little kids, like 12 to 13 years old, just going, wow, Imperial Guard are great, and I'm like, yeah. And then they go and play with their Space Marines anyway, because, when you're 13 years old, you're a bit of an edgelord, and you like skulls on everything. I'm enjoying this jazz. Oh no, it's great. It's like sleepy time jazz music. It's a chill stream tonight. Just chilling out. This is the one that's pointy down blade. So this is the side that wants the. I keep having to remind myself to do this. This is the side that wants the actual edge highlight. Do kids play anymore? They're not priced out by now. Kids still play. Kids of rich parents that don't want to look after them. Not as much at the moment because COVID. But you know, Games Workshop stores have traditionally been a source of cheap babysitting on Saturdays when your parents want to go and look at sofas and they don't want to have a kid hanging around with them, complaining that they're bored and want to look at toys and video games. So you dump them in the Games Workshop store, and all you have to do is just buy them something at the end of the shopping trip that's like quite cheap, and they're happy. It's like, here you go, Mr. Games Workshop store, you get paid just slightly more than minimum wage. Here's my children to look after on a Saturday when you're the most busy. If you don't like kids, don't work in the Games Workshop store, because you will be called upon to basically be a babysitter. So elongate some of these scratches a little bit. Can tidy them up afterwards. Okay. Next is a bit of Ulthuan Grey, using the Air version because I can't find the regular version in my paint stack. And by stack, I mean my paint pile. It's literally just a pile of paints at the moment because I don't have the IKEA Alex straws that I want because they're never in stock near me and they won't deliver them, and I don't have a car. I worked it out. If you want to know the best place to store your paints, get an IKEA Alex set of drawers. They are exactly the right height in the narrow drawers for a pot of the tall paints from GW. Like, it's within just a few millimeters tolerance. That's why I'm like, I need one of them. Nothing else will do. But they're never in stock. This is when the scratches effect starts coming alive. It's with the Ulthuan Grey. Just the little dots along the edge of the blade. Can we see that on the camera? I managed to get a Billy bookcase and a couple of Besta units, but I'm still waiting on them to get a lot of stock in for stuff for my new flat, so that we can actually finish off the living room. I spend far too long painting these chainsaws compared to everything else on this model. I just really enjoy this process of painting up scratched up knackered black, and it's just enough. It's like not a full armour. If I have to paint a full armour of it, I get Deathwatch flashbacks and I'm like, oh, go away. But this is just enough of doing this technique that it satisfies me without making me hate it. I don't know if I'll ever finish that Indomitus Captain I started painting in black. I wouldn't do hazards all the way up a chainsword. I'm probably going to do a few diagonal stripes on these and then weather them. But not like full hazard stripes all the way up. And that's... at least not on every guy. Maybe on like a character. But not on the rank and file. They're not going to stay on the tabletop long enough to do that. Like, you're going to run these guys across the table, they're going to get shot to bits. I'm mostly going to be using them as a screening unit, rather than actually relying on them to kill anything. So if they get into combat, then so be it. Safest place for them, probably. But I'm not expecting them to get there, I'm expecting them to distract my opponent from shooting at something more important. Because if they don't deal with them, yeah, it's like tiny destruction card effects. Okay, a bit of the old Black Templar for the shadow lines. The bolt pistols don't take anywhere near as long as the chainswords do, fortunately. I don't think that's going to show up on camera. What I've just done there. Yeah, I'm like 2 diagonal stripes, like vroomf, vroomf, and then weather it in like white or something. That's as far as I'm going to go. Next side. Actually, let's get a big dink. So I have found that contrast Black Templar is too intense for dark lining on these Raptors, and I am sticking to my recipe, which is Abaddon Black mixed with Nuln Oil, because the Nuln Oil gives the Abaddon Black just enough fluidity to stick in the corners of like shoulder pads and stuff, but because it's thinned down, it's not like black. It's not super dark. Whereas I found that the contrast Black Templar is actually too dark, and it results in too contrasty an effect. That's that one. But it is very good for base coating anything that you want to be black very quickly, and very good for doing the shadows on scratches, which I was about to do on the wrong side of this, because this one's that way round. Nahaha. See? I'm glad I caught that. That would have been a heckin' amount of repainting. Bling blong bling. Is there any jazz smoother than smooth jazz? Underside, not as important to be that careful. No one's gonna see it. Okay. Let's get those on my hand so we can focus. You can kind of make them out there. Next stage on this is actually to just put a little bit of Nuln Oil over them. And I usually like to reattach them for this step. That's the wrong arm. That's not his arm. That's his arm. Because then it makes sure it sits in the right place. Because I want this just straight from the pot. I actually want to take it from the lightest spot here. And I just kind of glaze it into the darker area. And the reason I do this, it just kind of gets the black back. And then I decide if I need to touch anything up afterwards. Because it ends up being more like that, which is slightly less grey and slightly more black. Always be wary of falling into the detail trap. Once you've done your power armor, painting the rest of the details usually takes just as long as the power armor did. Wow, dries fast under this light. One could probably use a little bit more. And the reason I do that last is because it shades the scratches I just did in a similar pattern to the reflection highlight I did at the start. So I get a shadow going that way. And then if necessary I just take a little bit of the old Ultimate Grey and just do a few little spots where I want it to be a bit brighter afterwards. Just to pick them out. One chainsaw done, and so what does everyone usually do while painting or listen to / watched? I recently rewatched all of Battlestar Galactica, the remake, not the original series. So currently I'm more like Sharon shot Boomer. Spoilers. I did watch a bunch of painting videos the other day while I was painting. For the first time in a very long time. I don't normally watch painting videos while I'm painting. Because I'm too busy looking at my models to look at what's going on. So whose is the... this is the guy I've already done. So you can see, same deal with the chainsword, but also it's exactly the same method on the bolt pistol. But the bolt pistol's so small it doesn't take very long. I've got to do that on the remaining 4 guys in the squad. Ah! Lamp. Fell off lamp. Move that. No. Webcam is precariously placed on lamp. I'm going to skip the dark creep on this, just go straight to the rust grey for these bolt pistols because they're quite small. Oh, and I guess I've got the, what is it, Volkite Dubelibut thingy. Where do I want the black parts to be on this? Probably there and there, not this back part. Because this is gonna... Is this just a plasma pistol? Just a fancy looking plasma pistol? I think it is, isn't it? It's the lieutenant that's got the weird gun. In that case, not much of this is actually going to be black, the way that I usually paint plasma pistols. Just holding it like that, so... Because I usually paint the muzzle as being metallics. On plasma pistols. Doesn't look like that would really work or be appropriate on this one though. Has anybody watched Bill and Ted 3 yet? I watched it the other day. It is very good. It is exactly the movie that I needed at this point in time. That side's not as important. Okay. Might as well just do these each after. So I'm not context switching as much. Don't want too many scratches on this, it's quite a small surface. I guess I should put a little bit of effort in. I mean, it is the sergeant. He's going to be the last one to die. Oh, Face the Music is hilarious. And it's just like good, clean fun. If I get these bolt pistols done before 11 o'clock, I might have a go at doing a fancy plasma glow effect that I've not done before on this plasma pistol. Just because I fancy doing something different. So that's that plasma pistol. Good enough. Let's take a bit of that, mix it with a bit of that, use it to touch up. I'm actually thinking a red plasma glow on this one. Well, reddy-orange, just to complement the green armour. I used to do blue on Raptors, but I'm kind of not feeling it these days. Let's just dark line these panel lines. I used to always just do plasma glow with an airbrush, but I don't want to do that anymore. I want to make more work for myself, which is why I'm probably never going to get a squad of Hellblasters in this army. Because once I start doing this plasma glow this way, I'm going to have to maintain it throughout the whole army, looking like that, and I'm pretty certain that the method I'm going to use is going to be really time consuming. Okay, one plasma pistol. That's just the black casing, the rest of it's going to be metallics. Yeah, looks good. And now the rest of the bolt pistols. Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of the plasma glows where the coils themselves remain quite dark and the glow is between them, and I really like it, and I want to try and do it because it looks like it's hard, and you don't get better unless you try and do things that are new and difficult. And I've been painting plasma glow the same way for years, so it's about time I tried something different. Kind of weird these bolt pistols have a forward grip on them. Like you could hold them like a carbine. I do use pigments. I once painted Harlequin Solitaire. He's in my display case at the moment. And I did the insides of his robes, all the shading and that with pigments, and it turned out really nice. It was really nice and brightly saturated. But you've got to use a lot, because once you apply varnish to him, it usually it semi-disappears. And you have to take that into account. That was before I knew that you could fix them with just alcohol though. And it would not affect the brightness of the pigments. But I learnt about them from Lester Bursley's videos over on Awesome Paint Job. Here's another inactive painting YouTuber occasionally pops up to post a video, usually because someone's sponsored something. These chamfered edges on these weapons are doing my nut. There's too much paint on that brush. There we go. Just got to put this on the table for this so that it goes such a small piece. Nearly fell off again. Every time I change position in my chair, I almost knock the webcam off. Because my desk is too low. Yeah, the great thing about Pigments is that there are no brush strokes because it's not got a medium. But you do have to apply more than you think. It's one of those rare cases with Pigments where more is actually more. And you probably don't have enough already. See ya, Boris. Thanks for coming out. Oh, this air paint's dried off quicker than everything else. I'm glad I've already painted the eyes on the helmets of these guys. After I've done the weapons, I don't really have any more focal points to worry about too much, and I can be relatively rough with everything else. Don't need to do much blacklighting on these bolt pistols, fortunately. I'm also very glad none of them have any like skull embellishments or wings on them, which always annoys me. If they've got scrolls on, ugh, painted scroll text. I hate it. I hate it on rank and file. Don't mind doing it on characters, but I don't want to have to paint scroll text on a rank and file trooper. I'll even go to the point of scraping the scroll off and assembly to avoid having to paint it. There we go, that's the rude boy, because he's pointing. These two. So that's 2 guns. Halfway there. It's only taking me about, what, 10 minutes a gun? It's not that bad. Whose is this arm? It's not yours. It's this guy. Which direction is he holding it? He's down. Okay. Because the other guy was flat, so it was quite easy. Doesn't make a difference for a lot of the bits, but it does make a difference for that little front grip. Fenrisian grey. It's actually blue. Who here believes Fenrisian grey is actually grey? Ah, see, Sotek green is actually green. Let's start a fight on the internet about this. I used to believe air paints had drying retarder in them, but this is evidence that they're not. They dry faster than everything else in this palette, even in similar amounts. Yep. A little bit of the old ones. Sotek green is totally green. Contrast paint's drying out quite fast. Oh no, the contrast paint's just doing the same thing that wash is doing this wet palette, which is just absorb into the sponge. That's... Still, I'd put it back on the thing. Yeah, that's why they give you the little wavy palette, but I don't know where mine's gone. One of them I lost because... Lost. One of them I destroyed with Biostrip because it turns out the plastic in it was not compatible. Stay on, damn you. No, it really doesn't want to. I think I need to tilt that up a bit. Water. There we go. Edge highlighted bolt pistol. One left. Yeah, I'm hitting about one every 10 minutes. That's not bad going. A lot faster than the chainswords. Ooh, this one's got a purity seal on it. Also, which way round is it poking? Oh, practically flat. Sat on yours. That couldn't have been comfortable. I've only got two because after I got sent one of these wet palettes to review, and then my partner wanted one, so I actually bought one with my real money. I don't know if I'm making that good pace on this these assault intercessors. I spent all day yesterday doing the armor highlights and black lining. It took forever. You can say the name in chat. So long as it's not a racist or some other kind of horrible person. Don't think there's that many like open racists in miniature painting though. But if there is, I don't want to know about them because that just harsh my buzz, you know. Most people in the hobby keep their politics out of it, which I appreciate. It's my safe space to get away from bullshit. I dropped my thing. What's the base green for these? This is Castellan green. Here's the base green for these guys. I have a tutorial on my channel which is close. They usually end up a little bit less saturated if you follow the tutorial. But my method is I spray them Castellan green, then I do a zenithal highlight of Strachan green, and then spray them with Rhinox hide in the shadows, which is what gives them their distinctive look. And I think I was the first person to start doing that on Raptors, and it just kind of took off as like the de facto way to paint Raptors for some reason. I think because Luther used my recipe as a jumping off point for his, and his is probably the most famous Raptors army on Instagram / the internet in general these days. Now I use Ogren Camo for the highlight, but the actual highlights that I do, because I don't have one on my table, hang on. Let's grab one of the old ones. This is one of the guys from the tutorial I did. This is the exact recipe that's on that tutorial. They're okay. Whereas this, side by side, same lighting. If I can get my hand behind it, hang on, there we go. This is the Golden Demon entry I did. More saturated, brighter, more saturated highlights. And I'm doing the rest of these intercessors the same as this one, not this one. So the edge highlights are Strachan green, Ogren camo, Creek khaki, in that order. Very little Creek khaki actually goes on the models. Very, very, very little. And all the black lining is just a Baden black. Yeah, it's this way around. Yeah, it's much more vibrant. It's not super high contrast, but then I didn't want that for these guys. If you want super high contrast, you want to check out Luther's. It goes by the Mighty Brush on Instagram. He's quite good at doing quick high contrast marines. I've still got too much paint on this brush. I'll have to touch that up after. And his recipe, I think, it's changed over the years. He's like optimized it. The last one I know of was Castellan green. Then he did the red-brown shadows. Then he does Elysian green as a spot highlight, and then Ogren camo as another spot highlight with the airbrush. Looks quite different to mine. I did one of my guys similar, and they come out a lot more yellow but a lot more high contrast, which does look a little bit better on the tabletop, if I'm honest. But I wanted my guys to match the rest of the stuff I'd already done, so I didn't do that method. You know, my plan is they are going to be in different units. But that other guy that I did as an Assault Intercessor would be in the same unit as these guys, and he wasn't going to match. And he was, like, really far off. In fact, these guys, the slightly greyer ones, their knee pad markings indicate they're the third company. Whereas these guys, are in the second company. So in my brain, it's just like, oh yeah, third company's armor's different. It's just, you know, they repainted their armor most recently in just a slightly different shade. Because technically the Raptors, if they're on a desert planet, would paint their armor in desert camo colours. And if they're on a snow planet, would paint it in Arctic colours, because they're not above repainting their armour for their war zone. I think I forgot to do my autumn grey, but that's fine. Where do I get my... I'm slowly running out of Forge World Raptors decals. But I've got another set coming from the mightybrush.com. Which should arrive in the next couple of days. And Luther assures me that his Raptors decals are slightly smaller than the Forge World ones, but not so much that you'd notice, just so much that they're easier to apply to shoulder pads. That is the last bolt pistol. So that's all the bolt pistol. It's not 11 PM yet. So this means we're going to have a go at the plasma pistol over the next half hour. So I want to paint these coils. First, I'm just going to base coat them black with some black Templar. Currently they're quite grey, but that's basically fine. Now, believe it or not, I think I'm going to break out the old... yeah, £6 66p. He's done that on purpose. I'm going to break out the old Apothecary White, I think. Which is knocking about somewhere. Or should I bother? Should I just go straight to... corn red? Let's just try and do this the old-fashioned way. Get a bit of corn red on the palette. Not going to need a lot. Thin that down quite a bit. just trying to run this between the coils while leaving the raised parts of the coils dark. So, nice point on the brush, wet paint, and run it around the edges as well and along the bottom. And about halfway up the coils. Yeah, I've not seen any tutorials on how to do this method. I'm sure they're out there. So I'm just basing this off what I've seen on the internet and trying to recreate what I've seen. And to be honest, when you do something like this for the first time, you should probably start on something a little bit bigger than a plasma pistol and do it on like a plasma cannon for a vehicle or something, but I'm an idiot, so obviously I'm doing it on a plasma pistol. Let's go straight for the hardest one first. Everything else will then seem easy in comparison. Not a lot to look at just yet. Next up though, I'm going to jump to Mephiston. I'll just grab all the paints I'm going to need. Evil Sons, Wild Rider, Fire Dragon, and Dawn Yellow. No. Boop. 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 And I'll just mix some. Actually, I go via Troll Slayer. Don't hot. Spray paint. That's what I think it is. That's Flesh Tears Red. Might come in handy. You never know. Oh well. I can work with this and what I've got here. Oh, so many people have just suddenly shown up. Hello, William Selby. My Aquila and lenses recipe. My Aquila is Rhinox Hide followed by Baneblade Brown followed by Pallid Witch Flesh. Usually then washed back over with Agrax Earthshade. My lenses are Dark Reaper, Rust Grey, Fenrisian Grey, Ulthuan Grey. That's it, yeah. Hey, Zaravok? Question mark? It's great to see you painting online. Thanks, guy. And Shane Thorson, morning in Australia. That's dried now. So that's quite dark, and it has indeed left the central coils black. So let's get the Mephiston out. Ew, it's gone all gooey. That is very thick. That needs some water, especially for this method. So this is like Darren Latham style painting. Everything is shades. So same deal. Let's try and run this. In the recesses only. This is certainly more time consuming than just blatting it with an airbrush, but I'm hoping the result will be worth it. I can kind of see where it's supposed to go. Still hard to see, but I need to wait for that Mephiston to dry, and the next one will be Evil Sons. I use a sponge to get a good look over the armour. It looks over my Wraith, but the Wraith Knight is next. It will not look good on the Wraith Knight. This is Wild Rider Red, this is not Evil Sun Scarlet. Sponging doesn't really scale up that much, particularly well. Oh wait, no, I just used... I've skipped Mephiston. Oh well, whatever. Have I? Were they both gooey? No, I skipped Mephiston. That's fine. That's perfectly fine. So I'm just going on to Wild Rider Red now. Yeah, Sponge Weathering doesn't scale up well. It's great for doing small chips. It's not great for doing bigger ones. I mean, people use it on tanks all the time, but I think it doesn't look great on 40k stuff, because everything on 40k is bigger. I can see that happen. Yeah, no, I see this effect building up. Fine point on your brush is very, very helpful for this technique. Yeah, I'm starting to see it now. This is a lot easier than I thought it would be, to be honest. It's quite a low-hanging fruit technique, actually. And it would be very easy on the bigger ones. Let's get some Fire Dragon Bright going. It's just thinning your paint and just placing it in the recesses of the plasma coils. It's super easy. And highly effective. And if you do go over them, then at the end you can just repaint the coils because they're the raised part. Well, it's only 11:10. I actually don't really wake up properly until midday. Like my brain, I've got a nocturnal brain. But I don't start work until like 9 o'clock in the morning. And because I work from home, I don't have to get up super early to achieve that, because I don't have to commute or anything. That precarious webcam again. I'm going to have to tart those up on that side a little bit. It's turned out a lot better on this side than the other side. Let's get a bit of yellow going before we move it to white. I'm just going to mix a little bit of white with that yellow. I say white, ultimate grey, same thing, same difference. Maybe just warm it up with a little bit of orange. That looks good. My hand always ends up looking mad by the end of a painting session. This plasma cores method is basically just painting fire. Let's add a bit more white to that. All for the same difference. It's also so far been a very surprisingly fast method of painting this. Hey Krabby Vision, thanks, I'm glad you enjoy the videos. A large part of this effect is going to be sold when I do the glazes around the outside to falsify light bloom. I like this technique. It's basically just using like wash principles. Each time I'm just going slightly lower down. There's the other side. You can see it's not got quite as much definition on the coils on that side, but I'm going to go over it with a little bit of black. Yes, join us on the Discord. One of us. And all that. It's fun times in there. We get up to all sorts of hijinks. Well, painting mostly. And talking about painting. Where the hell's my white? My actual white? Come on, it's the only Vallejo model with a colour bottle in this pile. That's not it. That's all we paint. Paints everywhere. Nope. This is quality content. How hard can it be to find a bottle of white paint? Turns out quite hard. Turns out so hard, it's making me think I might have actually put it away. Yep. I did in fact put it away. Pure white. Very rarely use this. But it seems probably necessary for this method to really pop out. You do not need a webcam and stuff to do Discord. We mostly just talk in chat and share pictures. Don't use contrast paint for that. I use my bad and black. Use my old bad and black. Is this new bad and black? Yes. It has video and voice chat, but it's predominantly used for text chat these days. Mix a little bit of the red in, just for funsies. Okay. Yeah, I don't think we've ever actually been in voice chat. I'm now no longer surprised as to why I see this technique pop up all over the place. It's actually surprisingly easy and highly effective. So I'm just using some bad and black here to pick out the raised coils. There we go. I'll do a picture of this on my Instagram afterwards because the colours get blown out on this camera. It just needs a little bit of glazing around it to make the fake bloom So I'm going to thin some of this Mephiston red down, plus a little bit of black, plus a little bit of my base colour. And just thin that down plenty. How's that? Well, that's still quite dark. Thin it down even more. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do this effect on like a full squad of Hellblasters, but on a character model or a squad leader, I will pop a paint list on the post, but it's basically just all the reds. I wonder who first tried out this technique and popularized it. Like, presumably one day it just showed up on Instagram or Facebook post or something. Everybody went, "Oh my glub, I'm going to do that." Don't want to take this too bright because part of why it works is the high contrast between the black casing and the red coils. But it does need some subtle glow. Yeah, first time I saw it I think was on Reddit, but that could have come from anywhere. And you always get people going, "My first attempt at blah" on Reddit. But you also get people reposting stuff that they haven't painted on Reddit. The place I always see it pop up is on Pinterest. I don't really like Pinterest, but Pinterest keeps sending me emails full of stuff that I find cool. That's how they get you. The thing no one tells you about painting is just putting colours where colours are supposed to go. Everybody always asks for recipes and techniques, but ultimately it's just going, well, what colour do you want to go there? Right, paint that colour there. Yeah, well, my stuff shows up on Pinterest all the time, and I'm like, what? I guess that's just what Pinterest does. Just, you know, people repost content from all over the place. I've either overdone the red glow or not done it enough. I can't decide. I think I need to feather it out a little bit more. This is the bit of the OSL that I think you could still just do. Initially do an initial pass with this with the airbrush, then repaint the coils black, and that's enough. I should probably give it an edge highlight on the inside actually, to indicate that it is a light source. Oh, that seems to have actually made a huge difference. It's subtle, but it's there. Run a little bit more white in that bottom recess, just to make it look a bit brighter. I think I might do the same on the little vents, but it shouldn't take as long now that I know what I'm doing. Water in that, just dried out. Okay, and the Evil Sun Scarlet again. Again, it's this thins down a bit more. It's a good candidate for the old dirty finger technique, this. It does seem like this particular part would be easier to do before you paint the rest of the plasma pistol. I've screwed one of them up quite badly, actually. Despite everything, it's not turning out that good. On this bit. I'm not really a fan of how that's turned out. Maybe if I'll have to redo the one that I screwed up. It's not really the effect at fault, it was my application of it. And apply a bit of black paint around it to tidy it up. It's much better on that side. Yeah, that side's quite good. This side, not so much. I think with more practice I'll be able to do this pretty reliably. as this is my first attempt. And it's come out pretty good. For a first attempt at anything. That's better. You can always touch things up. How does it look in situ? Is it too over the top? Is there too much pink tack stuck to this model now? It's on his fist. We're good now, okay. There we go. I think that's looking pretty good. I think I might just try and push the brightness of the coils, because from the front it's not reading great. That's a bit better. But I do need to go over them with the black a bit more. Even my black quite thick for doing this, because if I thin it down too much, it runs the risk of running into the recesses. Well, I'm about to shut up shop for the night. I just want to get this looking good from the front. Man. Okay. Plasma pistol. I am done for the night. It's midnight. The stream is over. Goodbye. Thank you for coming out, everyone. Remember, you can join the Discord and we can chat during the day. Talk about painting and models and stuff. Subscribe to the channel and click that bell if you want to get notifications when I go streaming. Always good stuff. I'm probably going to do a lot more of it now because I'm quite enjoying it. Don't say that. I did not miss a spot. If I did, I will have forgotten about it by tomorrow. So it's all fine. I'll see about getting some pictures up on Instagram of these in the morning. It's going to be in the morning, so I'm not going to be now. I'm too tired. And I won't be able to take a good picture in this terrible lighting. Could do with a bit of sunlight ambienting up the room. So yeah, thanks for coming out. That's where you get Majestic Space Duck. See, what you need to do is subscribe and click that bell, and you'll be on time next time. There you go. That's a solution for you. So anyway, cheers, guys. Have a good night. And it's not a finch. It's I guess actually kind of is. It's the beak wing. It's more of a kingfisher. Anyway, night, guys.